Why do I only matter when I'm useful? My parents demanded I sell my inheritance for my sister's wedding. Initial post. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I need to get this off my chest before I completely lose my mind. I'm Marcus, 32M, a physical therapist who owns a small practice in Denver. My younger sister Emma, 28F, is a makeup artist who, according to our parents Robert, 60M, and Linda, 58F, walks on water and breathes pure gold. Growing up, I learned early that Emma was special, while I was practical. When she got a C in math, it was because creative minds work differently. When I got straight A's, it was expected from someone like you. When she dropped out of her first college program, she was finding herself. When I worked 3 jobs to pay for my physical therapy degree, I was doing what needs to be done. I've spent years in therapy trying to understand why my achievements were always footnotes while Emma's failures were painted as artistic expressions. My therapist helped me see the pattern. I was the parentified child, the one who fixed problems, managed crises, and never needed anything. Emma was the golden child, perpetually innocent, forever deserving of protection and praise. 6 months ago, my grandfather William passed away. He was the only family member who ever really saw me. While my parents fawned over Emma's every breath, Grandpa William would take me fishing, teach me woodworking, and tell me stories about his life. He'd often say, "Marcus, you've got steady hands and a steadier heart. Don't let anyone convince you that makes you less special." In his will, Grandpa left me his cabin in Aspen. It's not a mansion, just a beautiful 3-bedroom log cabin on 5 acres of pristine mountain land. But to me, it represents every summer we spent together, every life lesson he taught me, every moment someone in my family actually chose me first. The property is worth about $850,000 in today's market, but I'd never sell it. It's not about the money, it's about what it represents. Emma received Grandpa's vintage jewelry collection, worth about $50,000. My parents got his investment portfolio, valued at around $400,000. Everyone seemed satisfied with the distribution until 3 weeks ago. Emma announced her engagement to Trevor, her boyfriend of 18 months. Trevor comes from money. His family owns several restaurants in California. Emma immediately began planning what she calls her fairy tale wedding. We're talking about a destination wedding in Tuscany, designer everything, a reception for 300 people. The current budget? $275,000. Last Sunday, my parents invited me to dinner. I should have known something was up when Mom made my favorite lasagna. She only does that when she wants something. After dinner, Dad cleared his throat in that way that means serious family business. "Marcus," he began, "we need to discuss Emma's wedding." I congratulated them again on Emma's engagement, but Dad shook his head. "It's about the finances, son. This wedding is important for Emma. She's always dreamed of a fairy tale wedding." Mom jumped in, her voice taking that tone I knew too well. "You're so practical, Marcus. You understand that Emma needs this. She's special, she always has been. This wedding is her chance to really shine." I sat there, confused about why Emma's wedding finances concerned me, until Dad dropped the bomb. "We think you should sell the cabin and give Emma $130,000 for her wedding. It's only fair, the cabin is worth so much more than what she received." The room went silent. I could hear the clock ticking, my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I asked them to repeat what they'd said, certain I'd misheard. Mom leaned forward, speaking slowly as if I were a child. "The cabin is worth $850,000, Marcus. Emma only got $50,000 in jewelry. If you sell it and give her just $130,000, you'll still have $720,000 left. It's more than fair." I asked why Emma and Trevor couldn't pay for their own wedding, or scale it back to something within their budget. The look my parents gave me was one I'd seen 1,000 times. Disappointment that I wasn't immediately sacrificing for Emma. "Trevor's family is covering the honeymoon," Dad said, as if that explained everything. "And Emma doesn't make much as a makeup artist. You know that." "She chose her career," I pointed out. "And she's marrying someone from a wealthy family. Why is this my responsibility?" Mom's eyes actually filled with tears. "I can't believe you're being so selfish. After everything we've done for you, you can't help your sister have one special day." I laughed, actually laughed, at the absurdity. "Everything you've done for me? You mean consistently making me feel like I only mattered when you needed something fixed? Or do you mean the years of watching you celebrate Emma's every breath while treating my accomplishments like participation trophies?" Dad's face turned red. "You've always been jealous of Emma. She has a light inside her that deserves to shine. You're successful, Marcus. You don't need that cabin. Emma needs this wedding. The cabin is all I have left of Grandpa, I said quietly. He left it to me specifically. Don't you think there was a reason for that? Mom stood up, her voice cold. Your grandfather was old and confused. He probably didn't realize how unfair the distribution was. If he were here now, he'd want you to do the right thing. That was when I lost it. Grandpa was sharp until his last day, and you know it. He knew exactly what he was doing. And the right thing? The right thing isn't me bankrolling Emma's fantasy wedding because you've convinced her she deserves everything handed to her on a silver platter. Emma had been texting throughout dinner, but she looked up then, tears in her eyes. I can't believe you hate me this much. I don't hate you, Emma, I said, exhausted. But I'm not selling Grandpa's cabin. Not for your wedding, not for anything. Dad stood up. Then you're no longer welcome here until you come to your senses. Family helps family. Family helps family, I repeated. When has this family ever helped me? When I needed money for graduate school. When I was working myself sick to establish my practice. When my relationship fell apart because I was too busy being the family crisis manager to pay attention to my own life. Where was this family helps family mentality then? Mom just shook her head. You've always been able to take care of yourself, Marcus. Emma needs us. Emma needs you to stop enabling her, I shot back. And I need you to see me as more than just a resource to be tapped when Emma wants something. I left that night and haven't spoken to them since. Emma has been posting passive-aggressive quotes on Instagram about fake family and people who choose property over people. My cousins are texting me, saying I'm being cruel. My aunt called to tell me that Emma has always been sensitive and I should be the bigger person. But I'm done being the bigger person. I'm done sacrificing my inheritance, my memories, my grandfather's last gift to me because Emma deserves a fairy tale. I'm done being practical, reliable, forgotten Marcus who only matters when someone needs money or problem solved. Am I being unreasonable? Should I sell the one thing that ever made me feel chosen and give my sister money for a wedding she can't afford? Or am I finally standing up for myself after 3 decades of being the invisible child? Update 1, 2 weeks later. I wasn't expecting my post to blow up the way it did. Thank you to everyone who reached out with support and similar stories. It's both heartbreaking and oddly comforting to know I'm not alone in this dynamic. Something incredible happened yesterday, and I need to share it. After posting, I decided to spend a long weekend at Grandpa's cabin, my cabin. I needed space from the family drama and thought being surrounded by memories of him might bring some clarity. While there, I decided to go through some of the personal items Grandpa had left in the master bedroom's closet. In an old wooden box, I found his journals. Grandpa had been writing in them for over 40 years. I sat on the cabin floor, surrounded by these leather-bound books, reading through his thoughts, his daily observations, his wisdom. Then I found an entry from 5 years ago that stopped me cold. Attended Marcus's physical therapy practice opening today. Robert and Linda came late, left early. They spent most of the time on the phone with Emma about some crisis with her newest boyfriend. Watched my grandson's face fall when they left during his speech. That boy has been invisible to them since Emma was born. They've created a monster in that girl, no accountability, no responsibility, just endless entitlement. And they've created something worse in Marcus, a boy who thinks his only value is in what he can do for others. I kept reading, finding entry after entry where Grandpa documented the favoritism. Christmas dinner. Emma received praise for showing up, even though she was 3 hours late and drunk. Marcus cooked the entire meal, fixed the heating when it broke, and handled everything with grace. Not one thank you from his parents. They were too busy consoling Emma about her latest self-created drama. Marcus graduated summa cum laude from PT school today. Robert and Linda left the ceremony early because Emma called crying about a fight with her roommate. I stayed. I watched my grandson walk across that stage alone. I took pictures. I cheered loud enough for 10 people. He deserved so much more. But the entry that broke me was dated just 1 month before he died. Made my final will today. I'm leaving the cabin to Marcus and only Marcus. Not to the family, not to be shared, to him alone. That boy needs something that's just his, something they can't take away or guilt him into giving up. I've watched Robert and Linda drain him for years, always for Emma's benefit. The cabin is my way of saying, you matter. You've always mattered. And someone saw you, even when they didn't. I'm writing this knowing that Robert and Linda will pressure him to sell it for Emma's benefit somehow. They always do. I pray he stays strong. I pray he realizes that keeping it isn't selfish, it's necessary. Sometimes the greatest act of love for your family is refusing to let them destroy you. To my grandson, if you ever read this, you were never the practical one. You were the remarkable one. You were the one who showed up, who carried burdens that weren't yours, who loved without condition even when that love wasn't returned. The cabin is yours because you're mine, and I was always yours. Don't let them take this from you. They've taken enough. I sat in that cabin and cried like I haven't cried since Grandpa died. All those years, I thought I was invisible to everyone. But he saw me. He saw it all. I photocopied several journal entries and drove back to Denver with a new resolve. Grandpa didn't leave me the cabin by accident or confusion. He left it to me as a shield, as a statement, as his final act of choosing me. Yesterday, I met with an estate attorney to ensure the cabin is protected. It's now in a trust that can't be touched even if I wanted to sell it for the next 10 years. I also met with my therapist for an emergency session to process everything. She helped me understand something crucial. I've been asking the wrong question. It's not, am I being selfish? The real question is, why do I only matter when I'm useful? I've decided to send my parents copies of some of Grandpa's journal entries. Not to hurt them, but to show them that someone else saw what they refused to see. I'm also writing Emma a letter, not about the money, but about us, about how we got here, about how I want a real relationship with her, not one based on me giving and her taking. The wedding is in 4 months. I won't be attending if things continue as they are. But I'm hoping, maybe foolishly, that Grandpa's words might finally open their eyes. Update 2, 6 weeks later. I need to update everyone on what's happened since I sent Grandpa's journal entries to my parents and Emma. It's been a roller coaster, but something unexpected has emerged from the chaos. Initially, my parents' reaction was exactly what I'd feared. Dad called me, furious that I'd violated Grandpa's privacy and manipulated his words. Mom sent a long text about how disappointed Grandpa would be that I was using his journals to hurt the family. Emma's reaction was different. She went completely silent. No passive-aggressive Instagram posts, no texts, nothing. According to our cousin Sarah, Emma had locked herself in her room for 3 days after receiving the copies. Then, last week, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Emma, calling from Trevor's phone. Her voice was different, quiet, uncertain. "Marcus, can we talk? Just us, without Mom and Dad." I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory. I arrived early, steeling myself for either manipulation or an explosion. What I got was neither. Emma walked in looking exhausted. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, wearing sweatpants. I'd never seen her in public looking less than perfect. She sat down across from me and immediately started crying. "I've been a monster," she said quietly. Reading Grandpa's journals, seeing it all laid out like that. "I've been a monster, and they made me one, and I let them." I didn't know what to say. I'd imagined this conversation 1,000 times, but Emma taking accountability had never been part of the script. She continued, "I've been thinking about every birthday, every holiday, every celebration. You were always in the background, making sure everything ran smoothly. And I just expected it. Like it was your job to make my life easier." "Emma," I started, but she shook her head. "Please, let me finish. I need to say this." She took a shaky breath. "I remember your PT school graduation. I remember because I didn't go. Mom told me you wouldn't mind, that you understood I had that music festival with friends. And I just believed her. I chose a festival over your graduation, and I never even apologized." She pulled out a notebook. She'd been writing down memories, instances where the pattern was clear. "Your 30th birthday. I threw a fit because the restaurant you chose didn't have good lighting for photos. Your relationship with Jessica ended partly because Mom kept calling you to deal with my crises. The weekend you were supposed to propose to her, you had to bail because I'd gotten into a fight with my ex and Mom insisted you come mediate." I felt my throat tighten. I'd never told anyone about Jessica, about the ring I'd bought and eventually returned. "I found out about Jessica from Sarah," Emma admitted. "She told me everything after I called her, trying to understand how I'd missed so much. Marcus, I stole your life. Not the cabin, your actual life. Your relationships, your celebrations, your peace." We sat in silence for a moment before she continued. "I've been in therapy for 3 weeks now. Emergency sessions. My therapist says I have a narcissistic adaptation, not full NPD, but learned behaviors from being treated like the sun while you were barely allowed to be a planet in your own solar system." She looked directly at me then. "I don't want your cabin. I never should have wanted it. It's yours, And Grandpa knew what he was doing. I'm scaling back the wedding significantly. Trevor and I are going to pay for it ourselves. Something small, intimate. The Tuscany fantasy was never about the marriage. It was about maintaining this image of being special that Mom and Dad created. I found my voice finally. Emma, I appreciate this, but one conversation doesn't fix 30 years. I know, she said quickly. I know. That's why I'm proposing something. I want us to have a real relationship, but I want to earn it. I want to meet weekly, just us. Coffee, lunch, whatever you're comfortable with. I want to learn who you actually are, not the crisis manager version of you I've taken for granted. She pulled out another piece of paper, a list. I wrote down every major event in your life I missed or ruined. I can't go back and fix them, but I want to acknowledge them. And going forward, I want to be there. Really there, not just physically present while waiting for the attention to shift back to me. I looked at my little sister, really looked at her for maybe the first time. Without the perfect makeup and carefully curated image, she looked young and lost. What about Mom and Dad? I asked. Her face darkened. They're furious with me. I told them I'm not taking money from you, that I'm scaling back the wedding. Mom actually said I was betraying my potential. Dad accused me of letting Marcus manipulate me. I'm starting to realize their love has always been conditional. Mine dependent on being their perfect princess, yours on being useful. So what do we do? I asked. We break the cycle, Emma said firmly. I'm staying in therapy. I'm learning to be an actual adult. And I want to repair us, if you'll let me. Not for Mom and Dad, not for appearances, but because I've realized I don't actually know my brother, and that's entirely my fault. We've met 3 times since that conversation. It's awkward and sometimes painful, but Emma is genuinely trying. She asks about my work, my interests, my life. She stopped posting on social media entirely, focusing on what she calls reality versus perception. Our parents, meanwhile, have doubled down. They're now telling extended family that I've poisoned Emma against them, and that Grandpa's journals were taken out of context. They've uninvited me from Emma's wedding, not knowing she's already changed the entire plan. The most surprising part, Trevor has been incredibly supportive. He told Emma he fell in love with her, not the image our parents created. He's been attending some therapy sessions with her, working on building a healthy foundation for their marriage. I'm not naive enough to think everything is fixed. 30 years of dysfunction doesn't disappear overnight. But for the first time, I have hope that Emma and I might have a real relationship, not one built on me giving and her taking, but on mutual respect and genuine affection. Grandpa's cabin remains mine, untouched and unsold. But more than that, his words gave me something more valuable, the truth, and a sister who finally sees it too. Final update, 5 months later. This will be my final update, and it's one I never imagined I'd be writing. Emma got married last weekend. Not in Tuscany with 300 guests, but at Grandpa's cabin with 30 of us who actually matter. Let me tell you how we got here. After my last update, Emma continued therapy religiously. She also did something I didn't expect. She started reading all of Grandpa's journals, with my permission. She wanted to understand not just the favoritism, but who Grandpa was, who I am through his eyes, and who we could be as a family. 2 months ago, she called me crying, but different tears than I'd ever heard from her before. I found the entry about your Eagle Scout project, she said. How you built that wheelchair ramp for the veterans' home. Grandpa wrote about how Mom and Dad didn't come to the ceremony because I had a dance recital. Marcus, I don't even remember that recital. It meant nothing. But your Eagle Scout ceremony? That meant everything, and they stole it from you. The calls became regular. Emma would find an entry, we'd talk about it, process it together. She started what she called the Accountability Project, documenting every instance she could remember or find evidence of where she'd been chosen over me, and more importantly, understanding the impact. Our parents, meanwhile, had gone full scorched earth. They told everyone that I'd turned Emma against them, that I was holding the cabin hostage, that I was destroying the family. The relatives who initially pressured me started reaching out to apologize after Emma set them straight with facts, not emotions. Then, 6 weeks before the wedding, Emma and Trevor made a decision that shocked everyone. They wanted to get married at Grandpa's cabin. If you're comfortable with it, Emma said carefully when she asked. I know it's your sacred space. But Marcus, I've realized something. Grandpa's cabin isn't just where you feel chosen, it's where our family's truth lives. His journals, his memory, the reality of who we are versus who Mom and Dad pretended we were. I want to start my marriage in truth, not in performance. I agreed, with conditions. The guest list would be small, Only people who genuinely cared about Emma and Trevor, not the hundreds of acquaintances our parents wanted to impress. Emma immediately agreed. The real shock came when Emma uninvited our parents. "They can't come," she told me firmly. "Not until they acknowledge what they've done to you, to us, to our relationship. I won't have them at my wedding pretending we're the perfect family when they're the reason we almost weren't a family at all." Our parents went nuclear. Dad threatened to disown her. Mom called her crying about public humiliation. But Emma held firm, supported by Trevor and, surprisingly, by me. "You don't have to do this," I told her. "It's your wedding." "No," she said. "It's our beginning. Ours as siblings who actually know each other. I choose you, Marcus. For the first time in our lives, in this choice, I choose you." The week before the wedding, Emma asked me for one more favor. Not money, not sacrifice, but something harder. "I want to read one of Grandpa's entries at the ceremony," she said. "The one about you. The one where he talks about who you really are. And then I want to say something. Will you let me?" The wedding day was perfect in its imperfection. Emma did her own makeup, simpler than her usual style but somehow more beautiful. Trevor's family, confused but supportive, helped with decorations. My practice partners came, having heard so much about the sister I was estranged from. During the ceremony, before the vows, Emma asked for the microphone. "Before I marry Trevor," she began, voice shaking, "I need to address someone I've overlooked my entire life." She turned to me. "Marcus, our grandfather wrote something about you that I need everyone here to hear." She pulled out the journal entry I'd approved. "Watched Marcus today at the family barbecue. He grilled for 30 people, fixed the broken speaker, entertained his cousin's kids, helped with cleanup, and never once complained or asked for recognition. His parents didn't notice, they never do. But I did. That boy has a servant's heart and a lion's strength. He gives and gives, never taking, never demanding. The world tells us the loud ones, the demanding ones, the Emmas of the world are special. But Marcus is extraordinary. He just doesn't know it because no one except this old man has ever told him." Emma was crying now, but continued. "I was the loud one, the demanding one. I took from my brother's life, his celebrations, his peace, his relationships. I stood in his sun while complaining about the shadows." She looked at the small crowd. "Everyone here knows me as Emma the makeup artist, Emma the bride, Emma the special one. But I need you to know Marcus, the physical therapist who treats patients regardless of their ability to pay, the man who spent every holiday making sure everyone else's was perfect, the brother who loved me even when I gave him no reason to." Then she said something that broke me. "Marcus, you asked me once why you only mattered when you were useful. The truth is, you've always mattered. I was just too selfish to see it, and our parents were too blinded by their own dysfunction to show it. But Grandpa saw it. And now I see it. You matter because you're you, not because of what you do for others." She turned back to Trevor. "I promise to love you the way my brother loved our family, consistently, selflessly, and without condition. But I also promise to never lose myself in the performance of being special." Marcus taught me that real love shows up, stays, and serves without demanding spotlights. After the ceremony, at the reception in the cabin's main room, something unexpected happened. Our cousin Sarah stood up to make a toast and instead pulled out her phone. "Robert and Linda asked me to read this at the wedding," she announced. It was a long message from our parents about family, forgiveness, and moving forward. Sarah looked at it, then looked at us. "But you know what? No. They don't get to hijack this moment too." Instead, she shared her own memories, of me teaching her to drive when her parents were too busy, of Emma doing her makeup for prom, of Grandpa bringing us all together at the cabin for summers that felt like magic before the dysfunction took over. The evening ended with Emma and I sitting on Grandpa's porch, looking at the mountains. "I'm in therapy twice a week now," she told me. "Working on the narcissistic traits, the entitlement, the performance of life versus living. It's hard admitting you're not the person you thought you were." "You're becoming the person you actually are," I corrected. "That's brave, Em." It was the first time in 20 years I'd called her by her childhood nickname. "What about Mom and Dad?" she asked. "They'll either come around or they won't," I said. "But we can't wait for them to see us anymore. We have to see each other." Emma nodded, then pulled out a small wrapped box. "Wedding gift for you." Inside was a photo I'd never seen, Grandpa and me at my PT school graduation, him beaming with pride. Emma had found it in his things and had it restored and framed. "You were never invisible," she said softly. "I was just looking in the wrong direction." As I write this, it's been a week since the wedding. Emma and Trevor are on their honeymoon, a road trip through national parks, not Tuscany. She texts me pictures of sunrises, not selfies. Our parents still aren't speaking to either of us, but for the first time, that feels like their loss, not our failure. The cabin stands as Grandpa intended, not just as property, but as proof that someone saw me, chose me, believed I deserved something that was just mine. But more than that, it's become something else. The place where Emma and I finally became siblings, where truth trumped performance, where being chosen meant choosing each other. I'm still in therapy, working on believing I matter without being useful. Emma's in therapy, working on being real instead of special. We meet every Wednesday for coffee, no phones, no performances, just two siblings learning each other 30 years late but not too late. Grandpa's final gift wasn't just the cabin, it was the truth that set us free from a toxic family dynamic. His journals didn't just validate my experience. They saved Emma from a lifetime of narcissistic emptiness and saved us both from losing each other to our parents' dysfunction. To those who asked if I was being selfish, no. I was being seen. For the first time, I was being seen. To those who shared similar stories, you matter. Your pain is real. Your contributions count even if no one counts them. You deserve to be chosen, not just useful. And to Emma, if you're reading this, thank you for choosing growth over comfort, truth over performance, and us over them. Grandpa would be proud, not of the wedding, but of the woman you're becoming. The cabin still stands. Unsold. Uncompromised. And now, unexpectedly, it's become not just my sanctuary but the birthplace of the family Emma and I are choosing to build. One based on truth, accountability, and genuine love. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply refusing to continue the dysfunction, breaking the cycle, and choosing to see each other clearly for the first time. Grandpa knew what he was doing. He always did. To everyone who followed this journey, thank you. Your support, your similar stories, your encouragement helped more than you know. This is my final update because the story has reached its real ending. Not perfect, but honest. Emma and I are building something new from the ashes of what was. Our parents may never understand what they've lost, but we understand what we found. Each other, finally, truthfully, completely.